when you graduate with your MBA in a down market. Back on campus, still no job. The buildings are nice though. Smile through the pain.
In today's business and financial news, let's discuss MBAs, specifically recent MBA graduates who are unable to find a job in today's tight economy. This report is by Forbes. It came out about a week ago, so the middle of January 2025, and it explores MBAs from a variety of schools who are having difficulties finding jobs. Do you have an MBA? Was it worth it? Today, would you go back and still get your MBA in today's job environment if you had the chance? Let's take a look to see how these MBAs are trending.
A Harvard MBA is among the most coveted. You do that, your life is sorted. Top job at a top company, six-figure salary, and a relentless climb up the corporate ladder.
We can agree with everything she said so far. If you're going to go to a top school like Harvard or another brand name school in which you're paying, let's say, $200,000 to attend, then yes, you expect that you will get a great ROI concerning the name brand of the school, the connections and the network that the school should provide, the job that you would have upon graduation, and then long-term your career. It really was that you would be set for life if you would attend one of those top schools. But based on what we're seeing, it seems like that's not necessarily the case in 2025.
But maybe not anymore. Look at this new report on MBAs. 23% of Harvard students were jobless 3 months after graduating.
So she said 23%, that's nearly a quarter of the class. That's obviously not a good look for those students, but it's also really bad for the school when it comes to reporting its metrics concerning the graduating class. And then if you think about prospective students, if they're thinking about spending those hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to a top school, plus having to take off 2 years from their work experience to go to the school, if they see that 25% of the recent grads are not getting jobs upon graduation, then that would certainly give most people pause. You would think, is an MBA even worth it? Should I go to a top school if it has these dismal rates of job placement following graduation? Or maybe I'll just stay where I am and go to a local school where it will be half, if not less, of the cost, and it won't be so costly because I would get in-state tuition if I go to a university in my hometown or my home state. Those are all considerations that MBAs have, but this 25% of MBAs not having a job upon graduation, definitely not a good look.
We're talking about a top B school. Most Harvard students get jobs before graduation, yet 23% were jobless even after it. This number was 20% in 2023 and just 10% in 2022. So clearly things are getting worse. And it's not just Harvard. Most B schools in the US have the same story.
So I like how they do not just focus on Harvard, they also talk about other schools, and she's going to give some examples of those other schools coming up.
At Northwestern Kellogg, 13% graduates were jobless in 2024. That is triple the number from previous years. At Chicago Booth, the same story. A career officer at Harvard summed it up best. Let me quote, "Going to Harvard is not a differentiator. You need the skills to back it up."
Take a moment and think about that. Going to Harvard is not a differentiator. Oh, yes, it is. At least it was in the past. Why else go? Like, you're going there for a few reasons. Obviously, you think the education, hopefully, is top tier. But then you also think of the network. And again, you're paying a couple $100,000 to go there. So it does need to be a differentiator at those rates. And then it says you need the skills to back it up. Well, yep, that is very important. And some would say that the skills for an MBA, so the things that you learn during business school, are the same across schools. Maybe some schools might have a little bit higher caliber than others, but you're learning the same basic principles. So if you're going to a school and you're paying top dollar, that needs to be a differentiator. Otherwise, you could go to a local school and probably learn the same at a fraction of the cost.
And this wasn't always the case. In the past, the college was the skill. The hard part was getting into a top B school. After that, your career was sorted. But nowadays, that is not enough. Companies are looking for additional skills and talent. One of the biggest consultancy firms in the world, in 2023, they hired 71 graduates from Chicago Booth. In 2024, they hired just 33. Experts say companies are also changing their strategies. Earlier, they would target campus placements. Come, hire a lot, and go. But now companies do smaller targeted rounds, that too around graduation. And we're seeing that in India as well.
So before we continue on to India, it would have been nice to have the perspective of those within the university to hopefully learn a little bit more about why their numbers are down. So it would be nice to know the students' experience as well as the experience of those that work within the universities. So the career placement team, to know what they think of why the companies are hiring less from their schools, and maybe what they're doing to ideally get the numbers up with respect to the students that are hired. The report is missing that aspect, but now they're continuing in to talk more about the India-specific schools.
The top B schools here are the Indian Institutes of Management. Earlier, IIMs would report 100% placement in 3 days. But last year was a reality check. Even 4 months on, placement was not 100%. Only 3 or 6 old IIMs had completed it, and just 1 out of the 15 new ones. What explains the situation? Mainly 3 factors. The first is artificial intelligence.
Good old AI. So now they go into talking about AI and how companies are using AI and how that is lessening their need for MBAs. And if you think about it, an MBA is a couple $100,000 for these companies. AI is probably a fraction of that cost. So companies are really using AI in order to become more efficient.
Most jobs are being affected by the use of AI. Management ones are relatively more insulated, yet you can see the effect, especially in the financial sector. Firms like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, and UBS have created AI platforms. They do not replace you entirely, but they do risk manpower requirements. You need fewer people, same jobs. That is the first factor, artificial intelligence. The second factor is oversupply. Too many MBAs in the market. India alone produces nearly 300,000 every year.
Harvard Business School openly admitting that their MBA graduates are having difficulty finding jobs was not on my 2025 bingo card, but honestly, it makes a lot of sense. No one's immune from a shitty job market. Is getting an MBA worth it? If even getting an MBA from Harvard Business School, you still are not guaranteed a job. And in my opinion, it depends on a few different factors. First, if you can waive a good number of courses, a lot of the courses when you get your MBA are BS courses. I got my MBA at the same university I graduated from undergrad because it was like a joint program. So a lot of the courses were waived. I got a scholarship. It made sense to continue at that time. And I knew like I was going to have a hard time going to school like later on in my life. In that situation, I do believe like getting an MBA was the right choice for me. Also, it did help me secure my job. They hired me in my second manager level position knowing I was going to get my MBA in 6 months. I just think like if there's a good scholarship, get your MBA if it makes sense, right? But do I think an MBA is a game changer? No, and I think there's like a million studies out there that show you that like getting your MBA is not a game changer.
We're in the worst job market in modern history. You know it's bad when 1 out of 4 people graduating from Harvard with their MBAs can't get a job. Now, to be a little fair, all of the people graduating with that kind of degree from that kind of school are looking for a very specific, very high-paying type of job.
I'm going into consulting, but specifically for nonprofits and philanthropists.
What industry did you work in prior to Dartmouth?
I was doing consulting before.
Got it. And are you hoping to enter consulting after the MBA program?
Yeah, different type of consulting.
We don't need any more consultants. I used to want an MBA. Both of my parents have them, but I couldn't justify the opportunity cost of going and not working for 2 years and spending that money on that because the break-even point was so far in the future. If there's a lesson in here at all, it's probably this. Don't rely on an expensive piece of paper to justify what you think you are worth. You will always have to continually work on yourself, better yourself, develop new skills, and put yourself into new situations to get these opportunities that will get you to where you want to be. And to anybody watching this who is on that job hunt, I am so sorry for what you are going through. Stay strong and hopefully it turns around soon.
I saw my W-2 from Wharton just half of 2024 because the other half, I started my MBA at Wharton. 6 figures. 6 figures from Wharton just half the year. I so sad because now 2025, I'm working none of the year. The money that was left on the table, the opportunity cost of coming to business school is such a mind fuck. It's so crazy. Leaving hundreds and I can't even say hundreds of thousands of dollars. As a matter of fact, when I came to Admitted Students Weekend and they were giving us like the stats on how much students make after the MBA, my jaw dropped because I was making more at that time. But then at that point, you've already told your parents you're going to school. I'm kidding. I know that it's going to be worth it in the end. It's just really, it's a hard pill to swallow right now, currently.
Okay, so today I want to give you 3 hard truths if you're thinking about applying for your MBA. These might be hard to hear, but we got to keep it real. Okay, here's number 1. I hope you get into a top MBA program, like the cream of the crop. But when you get in, this is not a ticket to then say you're going to be successful. This is the starting line. There are tons of Harvard MBAs, as a former Harvard MBA, Wharton, etc., who go on to not do very much with it. So the MBA is a stepping stone, it's a window to opportunity, but in itself, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to do amazing things. 2, if you don't get into a top MBA program, you really need to think about if the ROI is worth it or not. And if it's not top 10, it's going to be more often than not that it's not worth it. Last one, getting into one of these programs sometimes isn't fair. If HBS gets 3 or 4 profiles that look really similar, they're probably going to pick 1 or maybe 2 that look that similar, even if both would have done great.
The average salary of a Wharton MBA grad is $213,000 all in, including base and bonus. But what are the jobs that these graduates are landing that make them that? Let's look at a few. Consultant at BCG, investment banking associate at Bank of America, finance and strategy manager at DoorDash, another iBanking associate at Goldman, another consultant, this time at McKinsey, what looks like a rotational leadership program at Rivian, product manager at Google, and an equity analyst at an investment firm.
You may have noticed that we were not so much in this video following the first half. That's because it took us long enough to figure out how to do that and then also to edit it correctly because the audio was not perfection. But we don't wait on perfection over here. Anyways, do you have your MBA? Are you considering getting one? What are some of the things that are top of mind? If you do have your MBA, did you pay $200,000 for it? Has it been worth the experience that you've had post-MBA? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for listening. See you soon.